Welcome back to the DII Nation Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I am your co-host, Wayne Cavadi, and joining me once again is my partner in crime, Bethany Bowman. Welcome back, friend.
Thanks for having me back. Good to be back and great to have our guests today. Let's get right into it.
Yeah, and I know this week is a good one for you, Bethany, because whenever we have someone from the MIAA, you get excited. You get to show off your MIAA roots. I feel like it's Bethany week. And of course, one of our guests is no stranger to D2 football at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And Coach, I just want to start off by saying, it's good to see you and meet you. And you're actually real because for me, I started covering the MIAA shortly after you left. So you're almost like a folktale or a legend, kind of like Bigfoot. So It's great to see that you actually exist. But today, joining us today on the show from Central Oklahoma, the Bronchos, who just got a big win over Northwest Missouri State Bearcats and totally shook up Wayne's D2 Power 10 rankings, is head coach Adam Dorrel. Thank you so much, Coach, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So, like Bethany says, we have a lot to dig into here because, of where what you did at the previous school you were at Northwest Missouri State. And kind of let's start there. Your journey in D2 has been everything from player to assistant to head coach and then back again. How did that journey start? What brought you to D2 football and Northwest in particular?
Yeah, first off, let me say it's not what I did, it's what we did. I had a tremendous group of coaches and players in my tenure. But to answer your question, yeah, I loved football, played high school football in Maryville, Missouri. Northwest Missouri State really wasn't good at the time. They'd had a couple good years. Looked at some different schools, looked at Central Missouri, Pittsburgh State, Missouri Western, and didn't get a scholarship anywhere. So I walked on at Northwest Missouri State, and obviously it turned out to be the best decision of my life. And then, I knew way back in the 7th grade I wanted to coach college football. In Maryville, you couldn't play. They didn't have Pop Warner and stuff, so you couldn't play organized football until the 7th grade. And it's just something that I've always loved and been very passionate about. And, went to Northwest, played, left for a little bit as a graduate assistant to Northeast Oklahoma, actually, for a year, and then came back to Northwest and then left and coached at a couple different spots, Dakota State, William Jewell College, and then got back to Northwest. And, obviously I just worked my way up, O-line coach, OC, and then the head football coach. So been a tremendous journey, a lot of fun to be where I'm at. And, I've been very blessed in my coaching career. I've always felt like head coaches do things, they get way too much credit and they also take way too much blame a lot of the times. But to me, especially in the game of football where there's so many people involved, if you don't have good assistant coaches, it's just hard to be good. And then obviously, as you guys know, you have to have really good players too.
Yeah. And Coach, normally we might have a player as well joining us here on the podcast, but for your guys, I know several of them have class tonight. So, really emphasizing the student athlete part.
Yep.
So, instead of asking them how they ended up at D2, let's talk about what you like to recruit in your players and what kind of players you like to get on your team.
Yeah. So there's a thing. I just look for a holistic person. I want somebody who wants to be a student athlete. I think that's really going away, unfortunately, in all of college athletics. And I think the emphasis of graduating and getting a degree and having balance, I think it's very difficult anymore. So, I'm thankful to have student athletes that want to do that. We really look for guys that want to do that. After that, we're looking for a complete individual athlete, somebody that's not topped out. And what I mean by that is I love multi-sport guys. I love wrestlers. I think those guys are extremely tough, and I've always had really good luck with them. I love track athletes because you're getting realistic track times on them. Same thing with throwers. If you get a guy who throws 52 or 53 feet in the shot put, there's a lot of power correlation here. And basketball, you can go watch a kid play basketball and tell if he's pretty athletic or not. So that's it for us. We're really looking for guys that are multi-sport guys that aren't topped out, and then we want to get here and we want to develop them.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because, Jalen had this nice game against Northwest, and he's maybe not too sport, But if you look at the roster from the past 2 years, he was a wide receiver. Now he's a running back. What led to that decision to put him in the backfield?
Well, honestly, when we got here in January or December and then got the staff here and started going through, the roster, we were very deficient at the running back position. And so, watching Jalen, looking at his strength numbers, his body structure, he's very, very fast. And so we just said, hey, I've always had luck. I've never been afraid as a coach to move players ever. And we always, spin it in a really positive way. Like, hey, if this doesn't work, we can always move you back. But, we've got 14 receivers and not enough running backs, and very proud of him because he's embraced it. Saturday, you finally saw what we thought he could be. This year, he's just missed a couple runs. He hadn't hit it. He hadn't used his stiff arm when he needed to. And it just finally clicked for him Saturday. And we're really proud of him because he's worked really hard to get there. It hadn't been easy for him.
We're going to talk a little bit about the details of the game. But first, I want to, obviously, we got to set up the storybook kind of feel to it behind it because, of course, you like we said, you went up to FCS for a little bit. You did have that amazing run, 3 undefeated national championship seasons with Northwest Missouri State, and now you come to play them. What was it like to not only go against your alma mater, but your former DC, that's now the head coach there in Coach Wright?
I'll be honest with you, it was a lot of fun. I think people, and I understand what people see or, might think that, hey, I really want to beat these guys. I kind of looked at it as an opposite, like it was forcing like some of my aunts and uncles to come in town because they were rooting for Northwest Missouri State. I got a chance to see a couple parents of former players. So, that's what I looked at it as, a chance to compete against those guys, to see Rich, to see Chad, Brandon. It was a little funky, a little weird looking across there and seeing the green and white first, but after that first kickoff, it kind of got settled in.
Yeah. And, also interesting about that is that the Rich Wright defenses don't really allow guys to have big days like Jalen had. And, he had that 83-yard touchdown, I think it was. And the Bearcats before that had allowed 34 total yards and no scores through the first 3 games. So what was the plan of attack for him and your team?
Yeah, we tried to get pretty specific. He does a phenomenal job. And that defense has been great for many years. They pride themselves on stopping the run, and they make people one-dimensional, and, then they can go hunt, and they're always great on the D-line, and they were again this year. And we just tried to get really specific, that didn't have a big running package going into the game, but just, Jalen had a couple plays. We had a couple plays for another back, just what we really felt like fit their mold. And then we tried to attack a couple guys on the defense that we thought maybe we could exploit, and we were able to do that. And, if we could have got rid of the sacks, but yeah, you've got to be able to hit a couple runs on those guys, just a couple big plays in general, because if you don't, it's going to be a long day.
And you were mentioning 2 sport guys. Your quarterback's a true dual threat type of guy, right? He's very athletic. He can run if he has to. But he actually looked very comfortable against a tough defense. How do you think he's come along? What did you see that you were able to take away from?
Well, I'm very proud of Steph because going into week 3, we hadn't completed a pass over 10 yards downfield. Now, we'd had some pass plays, but they were off screens or, short completions that turned into some bigger ones. So he's just gotten better every week. He's trusted us. He stayed with the game plan. And he did. He made a couple of really big throws, and that was one of our keys to, we have weekly keys to victory, things we have to do to win. And we have to have at least 2 big plays in the passing game, and we got that. And so kudos to him. But here's the big thing, Wayne, is like, we were very conservative on 3rd down, because again, I've watched Northwest just kill people on 3rd downs, 3rd and long, and they're scoring points. And so we just said, hey, we're going to go in and run the ball on those downs. And he didn't panic, and he made really good decisions the whole day. And so I was really proud of him for that. Again, to beat those guys, I think you have to beat them in the turnover battle. And obviously we did that.
Yeah. And speaking of that, we talked about the plan of attack offensively for you, but look at the defense, 3 interceptions, 3 sacks, a fumble recovery. You certainly won that turnover battle. it was relentless. How were you able to attack the Bearcats so successfully, and can this performance now build for the rest of the season?
Well, we hope so. We had been kind of deprived of turnovers. It got to the point where it was almost feeling like we were trying too hard to get turnovers, if that makes sense. And so we just kind of went back to the basics, working on punching balls out, ball drills, things of that nature. Number one thing is I thought we did a good job of stopping the run for the most part, and forced them to throw it a little bit. And then just we had some guys make some tremendous plays, tip balls, the guys being in the right place at the right time. But I think I thought we had pretty good pass rush the entire day. And, just any quarterback or quarterbacks, if you're in duress a lot, that's a hard position anyway, but it's really hard when you're not getting a lot of time to throw. And, we were able to capitalize on that a little bit. But for me, I do think the strength of our team is defense and special teams. I think we played phenomenal on special teams Saturday. And I think that's something we got to build on. The thing that I love about our defense is they're very, very multiple. We can be an even front and odd front team. I like our pressure packages. Our coverages are different. And we just did a good job of disguising that stuff on Saturday. And again, kudos to our players, because it's one thing to put a game plan together, but then they got to go out and execute it. And they certainly did.
Yeah, when you could throw, especially against a 2-quarterback system, when you could throw multiple fronts at them, whether it's 3, 4, whatever it is, neither one of them can get comfortable, right? Like, I mean, that's got to be a huge advantage in your corner.
Yeah, it is. That's something when we were kind of putting our staff together and looking at who we thought we could be here, and just the state of Oklahoma and the kids that we think we can get. And this is tremendous high school football. We wanted to kind of base out of an odd package, and we are, but we have the capacity to go to an even package. And I just think it makes us really flexible. You're going to maybe play Washburn down the road, who can line up in 2 tights, 22 personnel, and just pound you. I think you got to be able to play with a 4 down front. So yeah, they're doing some really good things right now. The other thing, guys, is we're playing about 22 guys, anywhere from 19 to 22 guys on defense per game. And so we've got a lot of depth there, and our guys are being really unselfish and are playing extremely hard.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, what are your thoughts on Super Region 3? How hard is it to quickly turn around a program in this part of the country, and how does that affect your expectations?
Yeah, obviously it's really, really good. I'm biased because I've been in it and am in it again, but I think just from top to bottom, it's a really complete division. I mean, obviously our league in itself, the MIAA, is very good and very diverse. And so, I think it forces you I think you got to be creative a little bit in how you recruit and how you do things. I think you always got to be looking for new ways to win and new ways to recruit, and then just to sell your program and to sell your players. But it's certainly a very challenging.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, not only the region, but the league itself, like, this is nothing new, right? I mean, the MIAA is always, has surprises and teams beating up on each other, which makes it hard then for those teams in the region later on. But especially this year, I feel like the MIAA is just kind of wild right now. Like, I mean, Missouri Western beat, Hayes, and Emporia beat Missouri Western, and Missouri Southern came down and gave you guys a loss. And it's absolutely crazy. There's no game you can overlook right now.
No. And this is just my opinion. This league's better than when I was in it last. Missouri Southern, that guy, that they don't talk what that guy's doing right there right now. That's a really good football program. He's a heck of a coach. JJ over at Northeast Oklahoma, those guys are a lot better than when I was in the league last time. And so is Lincoln. I mean, we're getting ready to play them, and you look at the athletes they're putting out in the field, and that's a first-year head coach as well. And I think he's done a heck of a job. So I think it's from top to bottom, it's better. And like you said, there's you can't take a week off. If you do, you're going to get beat.
Yeah, and you look around the country and you have like the Gulf South and the top heavy teams there. Like the top 3 teams in the Gulf South are 3 of the best teams in the country. And you look at a couple of conferences that are like that. But honestly, looking at the MIAA, and a lot of coaches say it, but from someone watching it, teams 1 through 7 are all like legit contenders right now. And then, like you said, at the bottom, they're still they can beat you any given day. And it's just, it's really, from an outsider's perspective, I know for you, it's probably very stressful, but from our perspective, it's something amazing to watch week in and week out.
Yeah. One of the things I feel like there's a couple things, and that maybe this is wishful thinking, but having been at the FCS and how they do things, in my opinion, D2 needs to get rid of regionalization. And I think they just need to rank people from 1 to 24. I don't think it should matter where you're at in the region, because again, if you're playing in a conference that's top heavy, it's almost like you're getting penalized and punished for being in a good league. And so that's something I would love to see them maybe change down the road. And if there was some way that we could break up the MIAA so we get some non-conference games, that's something, again, it's probably wishful thinking, but I do think that would help. I think that would help our entire league to be able to play outside our league a little bit, and hopefully get some wins and maybe show people that it's a really good league.
Yeah, you are one of those, like the NSIC, and you guys are one of those few leagues that don't have any. You don't get a break for conference games or anything. Yeah.
Well, Coach, our signature D2 question here: what makes D2 so special for you?
Obviously, since I played in it. That's going to be a big part of it. But I think again, for me, I do think it's balance. I do think that Division II level, again, haven't been back long, but I still see everybody putting an emphasis, for most part, on student athlete. And I just, I think that's what college athletics needs to be about. And if you don't want it to be about that, then that's fine. But then let's not call it amateurism, because the way things are going, it's not anymore. So I really like that about Division II. The other thing that I'll say, and I don't know how it is, but from what Northwest to here I don't think people realize that our players across the country at Division II, they have a lot of skin in the game. And what I mean by that is, I don't think there's very many kids on full ride scholarships. I know there's not. If you look at 36 scholarships, you got to split up over anywhere from 95 to 110 guys. You can do the math on that. And so, I look at our guys, I look at like this summer, we had 100 guys stay this summer. They didn't get anything for being here. They had to pay for their own food, their own housing. They'd come in and bust their butts and then go work, 40 hours a week. And so that's the other thing that I think makes Division II football, Division II athletics special, is just our kids got skin in the game. And I wish people on the outside would realize that a little bit. And there's a lot of reasons to want to help Division II athletes across the country. And I wish some people would get on that bandwagon and look to help those kids.
Yeah. You're talking to two people that definitely agree with that sentiment right here. We can promise you that. So we got you through the easy part of the show, but before you go, we got to run you through the D2 Nation hot seat, where it gets a little tougher, but just some fun questions to close out the show.
All right.
So Bethany, why don't you go ahead and get them started?
Okay. Yeah. Our easiest question, we think, but what is your favorite football player and team?
Wow. Probably it would be Will Shields or Tim Grunhard, O-lineman. Those guys are Kansas City Chiefs. I'm a huge Kansas City Chiefs fan. Probably those two.
Well, Bethany, you're a Chiefs fan too, by the way.
Yeah, I like that. So, and then Chiefs is your team then too?
Absolutely. And I'm not a bandwagon jumper. I was with them in the 80s. We had a couple of lean years in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Tough loss Sunday, but we'll just ride over that.
You might be getting a home game, actually, from what they're saying, that they might move because you're supposed to play in Tampa Bay, the Chiefs, and they might move the game to Kansas City, so it might turn into an extra home game.
We'd love another home game.
Yeah. What's the best football movie of all time?
Oh man.
Told you these questions were harder.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, you're going to have to help me with it. I'm having a brain lock here, and I tell people about, you're going to know it's when Robin Williams, he goes back and plays the state championship game.
Best of Times?
The Best of Times, yes. That's my favorite football movie of all time.
That's a great one.
Oh, it's a classic, man. It's just, I tell people that. I'm like, if you haven't watched that movie, you need to go watch it.
Yeah, you could tell it's nice to have someone, Bethany, in my age range, because usually people spit out things and I have no idea what they're talking
I've never had that answer. It's always like the Titans or something. So,
about.
all
You
right.
need to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to watch it. I've heard of it. I just haven't seen it. Coach, if you could pick the pregame playlist despite the groans of the guys, what would you be playing in the locker room?
Probably a lot of upbeat country music, Brooks and John, Eric Church, stuff like that.
Well,
What's normally in there?
Oh gosh, I tell you, they're right below me, the locker room, and like literally, I was just watching film after practice, and 2 songs played, and I've never heard them before. So it's usually rap or some upbeat rock.
they should like some country down in Oklahoma, though.
They do. We got a lot of kids that do. I don't know if the majority of the locker room would love it.
Yeah.
What's your favorite food?
Ooh, honestly, probably ribs. I'm a rib snob. I think it's the best thing that I cook. I love to cook, and so I smoke ribs a lot. But I love ribs, and probably after that, probably pizza.
Nice.
And what show is your favorite binge-worthy Netflix or television show?
Oh gosh, man, that's tough. I don't even know if I can answer that. Probably True Detective season 1 with Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson. That was, again, I tell people, hey, have you ever seen that? And they're like, what? I've never heard of it. And I'm like, have you not heard of that? And that was HBO, so I don't know if that counts, but that's my favorite miniseries of all time. Great acting, great plot.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
All right, last one. If you had one superpower, what would it be?
To fly.
Nice.
Why?
Just to get around easy. Save on gas money. If you think about it, it would be unbelievable for recruiting, because you could get to where you need to be, see a ton of kids a day, see a ton of games on Friday night. So definitely would be flying.
I like it. Well, that's all we got for you. We're going to let you off the hot seat, but thank you so much for joining us. We're going to let you go get some rest and get ready for that next big MIAA game. But good luck the rest of the way, and thank you again for joining us.
Yeah, I really appreciate y'all having me. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And D2 Nation, before we go, remember, we always could use your support. So give us a listen on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and anywhere else you want to listen. Give us a like, give us a follow, and we'll see you next week on the D2 Nation.